All right, girlfriends. Hey there. Welcome to Girlfriend's Guide to Homeschooling with Angela Jordan Perry. Today's episode I have is with Arden Santana. We just had her full interview. It was over an hour long. And go ahead and say hey to the girlfriends,
Oh,
Arden.
hey,
Yes.
girlfriends.
Yes, girl. We talked for over an hour. Yes,
It
we
did seem
did.
like it. It
Yes,
seemed
we
like it.
did. Oh,
Great.
yeah. She was dropping it left and right, left and right. So very good, very encouraging. And then some parts we just kind of went on a rabbit trail and we just did what girlfriends do. We just talked about being the queens and goddesses that we are and how to operate in
Mhm.
that power and that place of freedom. And,
Yeah.
so we got into that conversation as well. But let me just tell you, so Arden, as always, let me mention this, as always, if you, as you listen to the podcast, right? You go there first, for example, and you hear all of the interviews. Those are the full length interviews that I have with each and every interviewee. And in those interviews, they will always say something so poignant, so powerful, so like, oh dang, I wish you would talk about that a little bit more. And then I just extrapolate that one thing out of that interview and then make that the teaser talk that you now see here on Girlfriend's Guide to Homeschooling on YouTube. Okay. So as always, Arden did not fail. She did not fail to come through. And she said a quote that I think is, you know, very profound. And while I have it in my brain, like, oh, okay, yes, I get it. I just thought it would be great if she also gives her viewpoints on it and what, what that really means to her as she pointed this out. So, Arden, you mentioned in the interview this quote by Grant Allen. It
Hmm.
says, never let schooling interfere with education. So, explain that to us because I thought schooling, somebody might be, I thought schooling, education, same thing. What are you talking about? And,
No.
it took me on a different, thought process. So break that down and what does that mean and look like for you, Arden?
Okay. So you said that we are the sum of the five people we spend our time with.
Mm-hmm.
Education is the sum of the cultural, moral, ethical, um, intellectual experiences that we have that inform and direct our life, right?
Okay. Yes.
Learning is what we've all done. We've gone to school, we've learned what the school system said we should learn, according to their curriculum, their standards, their tests and assessments. And we have become good, abiding citizens.
Right.
We learned, we trained, we did what we had to do to take on whatever jobs we had prior to, prior to becoming entrepreneurs and getting in touch, because we talked about getting in touch with ourselves and
Yeah.
figuring out who we are. So we learn how to be what a system
Mm.
plans
Mm-hmm.
for their product to be,
Okay.
right?
Okay. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Education is the learner directed um, acquisition of information, knowledge, facts that um, and resources that can be transferred from one generation to a next.
Okay.
And I have to give credit there to a dear girlfriend and mentor of mine, Tasha Vandy, who actually I noticed she was on your show at one time, I think in 2018.
What's the name?
Latasha
Tasha
Vandy.
Vanzi. Oh yeah. Yes.
Um,
Yes.
so I'm borrowing from her definition of education because that idea of being able to transfer information from one generation to the next is what's important. Because I shared an author with you during our talk, Amos Wilson,
Uh-huh.
who defines education as it's education is the tool for a people's survival,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we survival means the 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 um the perpetuation of our people, like of our families, of our lineage, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about the family, and we're talking about a people. So it's through education that we acquire the tools to be able to thrive and survive. And I don't mean survive, basic needs. I mean
Okay.
survive a culture, to survive legacy, to survive what we're experiencing now. There's a shift. I think we can feel the shift in what's happening with education as a result of the pandemic, right? Folks have gone into schools, or where they're in schools, the schools are shut down, and now folks are home, having to figure out, how do I navigate my work life with educating my child? The teachers are not responding to emails. The parents are frustrated because they don't understand the new math and how to help their child get through a concept. They're trying to, whether they're working from home or not, even if you're home, you're on the clock. So how do you assist your child while they're remote learning? And then they're figuring out the mediocrity of the school system, of the American school system. Okay.
Did you say that? Did you say that?
Yes, I'm saying it because guess what? The Board of Education said it. The Department of Education said it in a 1983 report.
Okay.
Where a commission was hired by the Secretary of Education at the time to do this research, because they said that education in America was mediocre because it wasn't meeting the social, religious, and economic needs of learners. Right? It said that America was the United States education. It was lax, and that it needed to be better. It needed to be better. So that mediocrity is now exposed, and I'll use the words of one of my constituents who called me in support, because her son is home now. He's writing papers and doing the work that he's supposed to do remotely, and it's not up to par. She's seeing essays he's writing, and they're not coherent. Just things that she would expect, and the quality of it wasn't there. But yet his grades said differently.
Hey.
And she said,
all across the country, all across the country.
And that's because they're in a system, they're learning, they're not getting education. So homeschoolers are educating. Okay, they're giving their children the facts, the information, the resources. Hopefully, one starting with the self. Okay, who are we? Who are you? And with who are you as a person, as a who are you? Where do you come from? What is your heritage, right? And every other race does it. There's cultural and traditional norms and values that are passed down from one generation to another that determine the identity of that people.
Right.
And our people don't have that. There's Asians, Asians are from Asia, the Polish are from Poland, Italians are from Italy. Where are blacks from? And there's a ignorance and an ignoring of the reality that we're from Africa. Then, like everybody else gets a continent. What's ours? So what are the cultures and traditions of our people? And we don't know them. Like there's so much education we need to acquire. We can learn today. Everybody can learn. We can learn. I can learn how to fix a car.
Right.
I can learn. We can learn whatever it is that we can learn a trade. We can learn a skill. But education is not going to help you to survive. I mean, learning is going to help you to survive.
So what I'm gathering is that education is holistic.
Yes.
It's a holistic collection of all sorts of knowledge.
Yes.
It's not just the learning of a this and a learning of a that and a learning of a this because I was told to learn this, this, and that.
Yeah.
But it's a holistic aspect where you, like what you said, the document was missing social, religious, and economic, and a self. You said the document indicated from 1983 said the educational system is missing social, religious, and economic.
And
so economic. And so you added in also the self.
And then I added in knowledge of self.
Now, knowledge of self.
Right.
So it's this whole aspect that makes up the educating, and the other part is just the schooling where you're going to learn a this and a learn a specific
Right. And a
this.
system of learning can't accommodate the self, right? Because
Right.
the self
That's
is,
right.
that's the distinction, that's the difference. And
Yeah.
that's why um, my academy employs a social, a connected learning model of education.
Got it
So that
now.
means it's learner directed. Who is the learner? Like right now, everyone's looking for culturally relevant and culturally responsive. Well, if I'm serving a Black population, then that will tell you that the cultural relativity is going to be of Black culture, of
Right.
Afrocentric culture.
Right.
So
Right.
it's student and learner directed. It's embedded in the social environment. So the communities involved, peers are involved,
Right.
right? The achievements and accomplishments are marked by what the child creates and what the child produces. All right. I don't know if, again, again, I'm an educator, so pardon me, but Bloom's taxology, I use that to figure out, you know, what what is what is the hierarchy of learning? How do we have, how does a child build upon information? What's the schemata?
Mhm.
I just found out maybe a month ago that
Mhm.
Bloom's taxology it's been revised. So at the top of the Bloom taxology was synthesis. We start with just memory at the bottom.
Uh-huh.
At the top of that taxology was synthesis, the combining of information, what you learn to synthesize it all into
Uh-huh.
a project or something. It's been changed to creation.
Hmm.
And why is that? Because creation is that not the ultimate reflection, model, and example of knowledge and
Oh,
information and
right.
awareness?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Whether you're creating a business, whether you're creating life, whether you're
Yeah.
creating, creation is the pinnacle of higher order critical thinking.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Okay, so
And that lends itself to free thinking, having not only just free thinking, but also being able to think freely in
mhm,
regards to what is my interest. What
right.
is I want to what I want to do, causing you to think about things and not just be given information.
Guess
So
what? And to think abstractly. It doesn't have to
yes,
be concrete and linear and make sense.
right,
Artists
right.
think, and the artists think abstract,
That's right. That's
but it's
right.
their creations that are helping.
Interesting.
That's through culture is exhibited through art. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so and then it alleviates the assessments. So
That's
learning
right.
systems were based on testing. No child
Yeah.
left behind legislation presented, and now it's there's no history, there's no civics. Everything is reading, writing, and math. You're
Hmm.
being tested to death, literally,
Right.
and there's no indication as to how good the teacher is
That's right.
or the students based on these biased tests that are not
That's
showing
right.
you some of the. I mean, teaching in public schools was the best years of my like professional life, and I
Hmm.
met brilliant teachers, and some who couldn't make it. They not couldn't make it, but because they weren't certified,
Okay.
there's a stigma associated with not being certified and all this stuff. But they were
Oh,
some
okay.
of the best teachers. The
Okay.
certified tenure teachers were foolish, some of them.
Mm.
So the assessment piece is eradicated when you're looking at a connected learning model. Um,
Hmm.
and then, and it incorporates the interest of the learner. So like you said, holistic, so that
I love it.
the achievements are higher, and the feelings of success, and the confidence and the esteem,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
because it's not so much of a challenge anymore by fitting into this box of,
That's
oh,
right.
they can learn how to write an essay, you know, um, but the child may not be a writer. And depending
Right.
on what that child wants to do, they can hire someone to write for them.
Write the paper.
So if
Right.
the child
That's
wants
true.
to build the next map system, they don't need to write. Like, accept the fact that everyone doesn't need to
Had to
learn.
do all the things, learn
Yeah,
all the things. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Well said. I love it. I love it. If you all want to add more thought to the conversation, I'd love to see your comments down below. What does the quote mean to you when you hear it? Never let schooling interfere with education. And again, that quote is by Grant Allen. So very good insights, very good thoughts. Thanks for breaking that down. It makes sense, and And just what you said just brings to me, if it don't bring to you all who are listening, this excitement about what education, what learning can be. You know, it's and yeah, it just made me excited to hear that. So thank you for breaking that down and sharing that, Arden. And so well eloquently said. That for that to be off the cuff, she said it like it was she wrote a dissertation.
Oh
You
my
know,
goodness.
so yeah, absolutely. Oh, please. I was like, wow.
Y'all, I'm working on it. I'm
No,
working.
girl, that was loaded. So very good. But girlfriends, thanks for joining in. Again, this is Arden Santana out of Maryland, Pennsylvania, and Connecticut,
Right.
homeschooling mom of two children, brand new. I mean, homeschooling all her life, um, uh, taking the reins from the private schools to herself again. I think within this past year, right, or year or
2
so,
years. Yep, we're
2 years
going.
now. So all right, so girlfriends, keep moving forward. Go listen to her interview and keep educating your children, educating our own children holistically. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's what we get to do. Yay,
Hey.
yay, yay. So, all right, until next time, peace and blessings, everyone. Peace, Arden. Thank you again for joining in, okay?
Okay. Have a good one, everyone.
Bye bye.